won't show up.
You're live.
Turn out all this shit for nothing.
Good morning. Welcome to the Electrical Utility Committee. Present today are C.J. Hawkinson, the electrical superintendent, the appointed officials, Public Works Director Troy Kruger, City Attorney Paul Jensen, and Finance Officer Shandra Phillips. This time I'm going to turn it over to you, C.J.
I did get some information back for the transformer that's leaking out at the substation that we partly own, majority own, I guess would be the correct term to say it.
98%?
66.5%.
Oh.
If we want to get technical on
Yes.
it. They kind of had a quote, as far as somebody coming in to fix it, $104,000 is what they're kind of saying. Plus it could go up depending on what they find.
Right.
And I think we're liable for 66.5% of it. But yeah, I got it kind of printed off. This came from the WAPA guys, and they kind of say what there's a bigger packet of the company that they have, I don't want to say lined up, but that they have the quote from to do it, and kind of what they're planning on doing. I didn't read through it all, kind of skimmed it. It does look like he's saying it's leaking on the LTC of the transformer, and then the guy from WAPA saying that there's possibly a few other leaks in there, and I think it's kind of another 20 to 25K to kind of fix those, and depending on what they find in that too. So when they take that off, I'm assuming that they'll be able to, so like the LTC is what fluctuates our voltage and stuff like that. It's like, it steps it up and steps it down on there, so there's gears and everything in there, and they usually do a 7-year maintenance thing on them where they kind of take them down and do an inspection on them, and I don't know if that's ever been done, to be honest with you. So who knows what they could find, I guess. So
He's got, he needs purchase wire, and we don't have any councilmen to give us the go-ahead to go ahead and make that purchase.
Oh,
Hold on, I want to stay on this right now, on this, before we switch gears. He's talking about the transformer out there right now, and the cost on the repair of that. I do want to get to that, and we'll be fine. We'll come back to the wire in a second. Question on this, that 104,000 cost, is 66.5% of that the cost to the citizens of Leonard?
I do believe that's the way it's kind of wrote. Yep. I think Rosebud's entitled to 33.5% of it.
And that's the same on any other leaks that they find?
Yeah, I think that was total.
Is this something that we're looking to do out of this year's budget or move from appropriated cash?
This is saying that it might take 3 to 6 months to set it up.
Be next year.
Yeah. I know I haven't been able to talk to the WAPA's guy that much. The first time that I talked to him, when he kind of notified it to me, this was before we knew that we had any interest in that transformer as far as ownership. He was a little bit worried about it, but it sounded like he was able to get some of the leaks stopped. Like the big one, he was able to get it stopped. But this one, I'm assuming that they're gonna have to take off that LTC off the side of the transformer, because it looks like it's the gasket that where they attach together, and they're kind of they're independent as far as your transformer has oil and so does your LTC, and they don't work together, I guess, to have the same oil on there, and he says it's leaking into the transformer itself, and there's air getting into it, and that's a big problem too. You don't want moisture in them, and you don't want air in them too. But as far as he didn't seem quite as concerned as he was that first time, but there was a big pool of oil at that time, and he was able to get it cleaned up and stuff. So. And I don't know if this is something that we have to coordinate with, I'm assuming with Rosebud too. If they have to okay who we go through, I'm assuming that's.
So WAPA doesn't fix it, or they don't choose who fixes it?
It doesn't sound like it, or if this is who they're suggesting. It says on this email here that I printed off that they will have somebody on site when the repairs are being made and everything, but it kind of sounds up as far as us coordinating to get somebody down there. It sounds like it's on us and Rosebud to do it from the email that I got. My email technology hasn't been my friend this week, so my email hasn't been working on the one, so I've been transforming it onto the other one, and this is kind of what I got. So I haven't been able to kind of look at it in depth and kind of come up with some questions and reach back out to them.
Mr. Jensen?
Do we know, are there sufficient number of entities so we can at least get 3 quotes from providers that would do this type of work?
I can reach out to,
So you're saying we're responsible to get this repaired? I haven't seen any of this. I don't know. My email's been working fine, but I didn't get any of this information.
on there, well, we're responsible to pay for it, and it doesn't really spell out in the email as far as who's responsible to line up all the work on there quite yet. All it says in there, it was very basic on there. It was like obviously this long, and then it was just the information of what was actually gonna be done to the transformer. But as far as lining it up, it might be between us and Rosebud to figure out this is who we're gonna go with and everything like that.
Chandra, do we have a contract with Rosebud on this?
Yeah, so it's the same contract, all 3 parties signed the same contract, REA.
It's not a
Winter, and
contract.
WAPA.
It's not a contract between the city of Winter and Rosebud. It's a contract with WAPA.
With WAPA, okay,
And it
okay.
spells it out in the WAPA contract.
Okay, that clarifies it, so I know where to look.
Equipment repairs don't have a bid law, so equipment repairs are exempt from bid laws, but the state statute and our policy.
And our
do say
policy.
Anything over 4,000, you need the 3 quotes unless it's proprietary, so I would say if WAPA says this is who is fixing it.
Oh, if
we have to
WAPA
listen
tells
to
us
WAPA
that.
Because we have a contract.
Totally agree, yes.
And I guess this just in the email, it says the easiest thing for you to do is to contract directly with this Ryan House. That's the company's name that they got this stuff from. And I don't know if this is the only one that does this type of work or what, or
Okay.
on there. I think they're out of Colorado, to be honest with you.
Okay, we can check on that.
Oh, no. Yeah, they're out of Colorado to do it.
Okay.
And that might be what WAPA kind of uses too for some of their bigger stuff, but
Right.
As majority owner, do we even have to coordinate it with Rosebud?
I'm gonna wanna read that contract before I opine on that one.
I thought the contract said that we were responsible for 100% of the repairs.
I think it does too.
on the one transformer we are.
Yeah, and then we're 100% responsible to pay for our annual fee.
Yeah.
Of them inspecting it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But major repairs like this, I do think they are split.
let's read the contract and find out.
Absolutely, yep.
This is good information, yeah. $125,000 per other league. We need to get them on a maintenance schedule, at least every 7 years.
Well, it sounds like per that contract that WAPA was doing the maintenance on it, like oil sampling. That's where you get a lot of your information on there. We just never were getting the information. So this or on it. So I've never seen anything where we were getting it. And when we kind of talked to that Vic down there, he would get it. He said he never looked at it, but he's like, I figured they'd just tell me is what he said if something was wrong on there. So I think it was the beginning of this year, we sent in an oil sample on it. You know, they're not expensive. They're like $100, but to do them just to kind of see what was kind of going on with there. And then and this was not on this transformer, it was on our main transformer. And then once we kind of found that contract that it was that they do the inspection and maintenance and they do the oil sampling and all that type of thing, I think it would cost us like $2,700 to have them as the maintenance or whatever on it or something for a year. So I don't know where it's going or what. And the WAPA foreman that I've been talking to, he's pretty good. If you want some information, he'll help you out pretty good about it, so.
Okay. Wire. Let's talk the wire.
He's got bids on wire. He'd like to go ahead and purchase wire, and he needs approval from committee members.
No. It falls underneath the infrastructure bid law, as long as it's in his budget and he's got the 3 quotes, he doesn't
Yep.
have to have council approval.
Yep,
It went up to 100,000 this year.
he did.
And one of the decisions that was made by what department?
So it was who this came from is a legislator who wrote the law.
Mm-hmm.
But it is considered infrastructure.
Oh, yeah, you stuck your head in my door the other day and said that.
Yep.
The only caveat to it is, it can never be surplus to be sold to somebody else.
Correct. It's
It will
ours.
100% only ever be able to use for our infrastructure. So,
Correct.
because it was mentioned on camera before, I'll say this now too, we talked about maybe we just get a ton of transformers and wire in, and then we can start kind of distributing from there if we have surplus. If we do that, it becomes a supply and you have to bid it at 50,000.
Right.
If it's only for our infrastructure, it's underneath that 100,000, you have 3 quotes, you're both.
Yep.
Or attempt to get 3 quotes.
Right.
If it's
Correct.
not available.
Yeah.
They did say that since this is new, when I talked with Rob Peterson? Yeah, the SDML electric superintendent. He did say because it's so new, not all auditors might understand because it's always been a supply before.
Oh.
He said a letter from your attorney stating that this is only
Right.
to use for our infrastructure might be good for the first time.
We'll have that today. Yep.
So over 4,000, 3 quotes, you guys ordered.
He has that.
Yep.
Yeah. Fire away with it.
And then what we'll do is we'll just put that letter from Paul with your 3 quotes and scan it into the payment.
Good.
The only other thing I got is, Kurt's got his estimated final number. We're still doing POs. We're doing them today again, so those guys, all my superintendents have their projected number of what they can have left to spend for the year. The number that I wrote at the bottom of your fiscal period for the ending 11/30 is 496,352. That's before I took out all the estimated, his payroll, his utilities, his electrical. I averaged out his electrical payments just based on what we have, 10 months worth of data on those. But everything's pretty much, the only number I don't have is, I contacted MRES and I talked to, or not MRES, Landis and Gear, and I contacted Roland, and they have not billed us yet for any of our endpoints, and we have like probably close to 1,000 meters deployed now. So still waiting to hear from that and how they're gonna bill us on that, if we're gonna receive a bill yet this year. That would be, but I mean, he's got a pretty large number to work with. This wire's 60,000. Yeah,
I might,
anything else that you wanna purchase before the end of the year?
always. Nothing really big, no, nothing on there. I did get 3 quotes. As far as that, there's one that was substantially less, it was about $12,000 less. And I think they can get it to me by the end of the year. Otherwise, one of the other spots where it was $12,000 more, they can get the wire here by the end of the year. So I was gonna try to get it out of this budget, but
So that is something we probably should mention, because that is something that council has, again, state statute says you can't prepay for something.
Correct.
Unless it's contractual and council approves it. So if we're not going to get it by the end of the year.
Yeah.
You would want to encumber those numbers over into
Yep,
next year's
yep.
budget.
I was gonna try to, I know the one said that they have it on stock. But then I got a quote, I mean, my quotes were within $500, and then I got another one, and it was $12,000 cheaper, and I was on the telephone with the salesman asking him if he quoted me the right thing.
Yeah.
Because I was like this, and we kind of went back and forth on it, and he said, nope, it's right. He said, well, hold it. And he said, when do you need it by? I said, I want to buy it by the end of the year, have it here by the end of the year. And he's like, let me make some calls. And it sounded like he found the stuff I needed. But I'm going to get in contact with him and make sure that we got it and tell him that we'll order it. Otherwise, I'll have to go with the more expensive one, but
Yeah, yeah.
on there, so.
As
you
long as
don't-
we
if you
get it
don't
here
spend it,
before
you're-
the end of December, we can make it work.
If you don't spend it, it just goes back to cash on hand, so you can just ask council next year to move it from your cash on hand back into your,
Together encumbered.
Yeah. So there is a little bit easier process if we do it in January, resolution to encumber.
some of the stuff, we don't even know if we're gonna get it in 2024. It might be 2025 before we see some of this stuff.
But not the wire.
Wire,
No,
no.
some of that stuff you can get pretty current, but, I mean, even with other departments, you know, there's things that are a year, 18 months out if we order it today.
Oh, jeez.
Like, we have to order 4 more meters, and they gave us a quote for 52 plus weeks.
52 plus
Yeah,
weeks.
on there. So, they're, yeah. What's that?
Did you say meters?
Yes. On it.
The last thing I have is, I've got a lot of calls in the last couple of weeks on trees. People want trees trimmed, and so I'll probably do a PA maybe sometime this week at the radio station and explain to the public that if it's the wire that's attached to their house, to our stuff, that's secondary, and that's their responsibility to trim the trees around that wire. If it's in the primary, which is the city of Winter's electrical lines, then the city of Winter will trim those. But last year, we had a lot of people call up after that first storm, that heavy snow, and we had a lot of secondary that had to be fixed, and that's technically not the city of Winter's
It's not ours.
problem, and I think we did fix some of that last year. We were also beating the snow off of trees last year because wires were in them, and the wires were getting stretched tight, and that's also something that the property owners need to look at before we get into the snow season. We shouldn't be doing that either, and we do, I mean, we try to be helpful, but we don't want to bring our equipment onto their property and cause property damage, and
Right.
and there's just,
So did Chelsea, or excuse me, did planning and zoning send out a bunch of courtesy notices about trees that need trimmed in secondary lines? Is that correct?
I don't know.
I wanted to think I remember her saying that in one of our meetings, in which case, if it's, the courtesy notice has been sent and they do nothing about it, then the city of Winter can go in and do it, but we have to charge according to our rates. Is that sounding?
I thought that's what someone
Yeah.
said.
Yeah, it's a timing thing as far as when that notice was
I
sent.
just wanted that to be explained to the public in case they see Kurt's group over there trimming something. It's probably because there was a courtesy notice. It's not
Right.
because we're doing it to be nice type of.
Right, yeah, good point.
well, we do have two different entities in town that specifically do tree trimming, so we cannot do it without
Right.
giving them a chance to get the business first. And if we do it, we have to be more expensive than they are.
Yep,
So I'll probably do a radio deal on it or something, get something out there, because I mean, I've gotten probably 30 calls in the last month for people that think that their trees need to be trimmed. I went and looked at all of them, and a majority of them are in the secondary. It's not the city's responsibility. That's all I have.